Четем от Шримад Бхагаватам, 3 песен, 1 глава, въпросите на Видура, текст 26. Качит Пурана Пурушал Сванабхя Падмано Вриттyeha Килаватирно Асатта Урвя Кушалам Видхая Критакшанау Кушалам Шурагехе. Моля те, кажи ми за изначалната божествена личност, формите, които се появиха по молба на Брама, роден върху лотоса, израснал от тялото на Бога. И като възвисиха всички, донесаха добруване и благополучие на света. Дали те са щастливи в дома на Шурасена? Пояснение. Бог Кришна и Баларам не са две различни божествени личности. Богът е единствен, но се разпространява в най-различни форми, които са неотделими една от друга. Те всичките са негови пълни експанзии. Непосредствената експанзия на Бог Кришна е Баладева, а Брахма, който се роди от лотоса на Гарбодакаша и Вишну, е експанзия на Баладева. Това показва, че Кришна и Баларама не са подвластни на законите на Вселената. Тъкмо обратното, цялата Вселена се намира под тяхната власт. Те се появили по молба на Брахма, за да облегчат земята от бремето й. И като извършили множество свръхестествени дейности, освободили света, така че всички да живеят в щастие и благоденствие. Без милостта на Бога никой не може да бъде нито щастлив, нито да преуспява. Тъй като щастието на семейството на преданите на Бога зависи от щастието на самия Бог, Видура най-напред попитал за благоденствието на Бога. Any comments, Maharaj?
You start.
Yeah, this point Prabhupada is making that
Speak a little louder.
There cannot be happiness and prosperity without Krishna's mercy.
Without what?
Krishna's mercy cannot be happiness, real happiness. And especially the happiness of those who are in the family of the Lord. They depend on the happiness of Krishna directly. So I think this is more intimate here, explanation that in general, unless you have the mercy of the Lord, you cannot be prosperous in the long term and happy. But those who are connected intimately with Krishna, they feel part of the family and they want to serve him, their exclusive happiness is related to his own happiness. They are happy only when they see him happy. So they cannot be happy even if there is prosperity and everything else is fine. They're not interested in that if it's separate from Krishna.
That's also one reason why we follow all these rules and regulations. Like the other day, someone asked me, what is the actual purpose of following these rules and regulations? And I replied, it's because Krishna is pleased by that. That's why we do. It satisfies Krishna. If Lord Krishna sees some living entity following these rules, regulations, he's pleased. He's following sadhana, bhakti, process of bhakti. And Krishna is pleased. So this we should always remember. Why do I chant these 600? Krishna is pleased. Why do I do this? Krishna is pleased. So that will be helpful. Another thing Srila Prabhupada mentioned here that it's not that Krishna and Balaram are two personalities of Godhead. God is one. How does Srila Prabhupada phrase it?
First sentence.
Yeah, he's one without a second.
Mm-hmm.
That's the definition of the Supreme Lord, God. What's the definition? He's one without a second. Nobody is superior to him, nobody is equal to him. But everybody is inferior. But then how come that they're we talk about two different personality, and then Srila Prabhupada mentioned that although he is one, he can expand himself. And this one, I had a debate with one Christian scholar, and he didn't accept it. He said, no, the absolute truth means absolute. If something is expanding, that means it is not the absolute truth anymore. So they couldn't understand the spiritual mathematics. That 1 + 1 = 1. 1 - 1 = 1. So that's the spiritual nature. Although it is one, still it can expand. So they think in terms of material. You have one piece of paper. If that expands into another piece of paper, then it's not the original one anymore. You have two different. Or if something is expanding, then how is that absolute? How was it absolute before when it's expanding? So like that. That's why Srila Prabhupada mentioned here, although he is one, he can expand himself. And that's difficult to understand because we only have one personality manifested in this one material body. You cannot be two personalities at the same time. That's difficult to understand. But even liberated living entities, they can also expand themselves. They can also have 2, 3, 4 personalities. Because it's a spiritual nature. So we can also expand ourselves in a limited way, Krishna unlimited way. He's always unlimited. And what is?
Yeah, and this it's interesting that these expansions also are related to his different moods or different purposes.
Yeah.
And it's not just a replica of the same.
There's only one purpose the Supreme Lord has, is to enjoy.
Yeah. He's good at enjoyment, at anything.
That's the only purpose he has. Therefore he states in Bhagavad Gita that he has no duties to perform. There's no duty for Krishna. Anything else?
Others? Yeah.
Yes, the purport is saying that the happiness of the devotees depends on the happiness of the Lord. So can we see this statement in the perspective of deity worship? Can we understand that also the happiness of the devotees in a particular household or a yatra or a temple depends on the deity worship and quality of service?
Yeah, Krishna has to be in the center, whether in the house, in the temple, everywhere. For the devotees, if he's not in the center, meaning we're not doing our activities around his happiness, what kind of devotees we are?
Sometimes they argue that if God is everywhere, then why you go to the temple? And then our reply is he's also in the temple.
Why not?
Yeah, deity worship is important, specifically for our own purification. Because as conditioned souls, we always have the tendency to be dragged down by the material energy. And worshipping the deities, this will drag us out. Follow, we are being forced. We voluntarily force ourselves. They sometimes argue, that do you have to do this? Do you have to wear this tilak? Do you have to wear this clothes? Do you have to worship the deities? Our reply is we voluntarily follow. We want to follow because it regulates us. Because this unregulated life is very dangerous. It always gives rise to the mode of passion. And if there's a mode of passion, then the danger is it will degrade into the mode of ignorance. The only way to get out of it is the mode of goodness. And the worshipping the deities, it helps us to become more situated in the mode of goodness. Getting up early, doing our worship in a regulated way. And even that, that is difficult. You sometimes see devotees are very enthusiastic to worship the deities, but only for some time. And then they call it Krishna's Leela, his pastime, that now he goes to someone else. No, one has to stick to that worship. Once you start, you should not stop. But we can see, even for devotees, it is difficult to be regulated.
Steady.
Because the mode of passion is so strong, so powerful. Mode of passion means something else, something different, something else. Go somewhere else. Why remain at the same place? Go somewhere else. Do something else. Different relationship. Always something. That's mode of passion. Forces us to change. The mode of goodness means stitha, you're fixed. Stitha pragyam, you're focused, fixed. Yes.
Because we're not on the level of the real devotees in this way.
Yeah.
We're not devotees. We're aspiring devotees.
No, we are imitating devotees.
Absolutely.
I was always, personally, I'm very good in imitating others. That's why I'm still here. I always try to imitate someone. So that sense is good. Like that story with the beggar. Anyway.
Prabhupada said it, imitation of something good is good.
Yeah.
Maharaj, what about this excuse often heard by, as you said?
So there's imitation,
Yeah.
imitation for some time, but then gradually it changes into a natural habit. Like in the beginning, we imitated by bowing down at the temple. Remember when you came first? You were also bowing down, but it was not real. They do it, I also have to do it. But now it's different. No? When you bow down, it's more natural. So everything is, in that sense, it's an imitation in the beginning. But then it turns into our natural life at one point. Yeah, what did you say?
That this excuse for our often irresponsibility or something, it's Krishna's Leela, this must be Krishna's desire, that things happen like that. I don't do my duty, or whatever, and then, it must be Krishna's plan. Have you heard that?
Yes, sometimes I. Yeah, then we want to be very, if we have some difficulties, we become very philosophical. I think this is what Krishna wants.
It must be.
Maybe that's what you want. Okay, good.
And something about the deity worship also, that like Prabhupada explains that if we do it nicely, we decorate Krishna nicely, then it leaves impression. Every day we see the deity and then we remember. We remember easily, Krishna was dressed like that, was decorated like that, and then we remember all day. So then, and when we chant, it's much easier that then we hear then and we remember Krishna, then if we don't do the deity worship, because some might say it's not the process. This sage is only Harinam, but unless we have purified senses in mind, we can't chant without offenses, or there is little effect. Deity worship is very important to purify the senses.
Because impersonalism is also very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Even worship, it can become impersonal. You just worship something. The deity worship means it really helps us to remember Krishna as a person. Because you can only dress a person. Doesn't make sense to dress, something non-person. So Krishna is a person, which means he has his likes, his dislikes. He has desires.
Yeah.
And we remember Krishna as a person.
Therefore, so many details, and for example, Hari Bhakti will ask about what Krishna likes in different times in the year, what kind of aromas, and what kinds of flowers, what kind of food. So devotees know that, or even the general rule, whatever is available locally, but it's the best you offer with attention, attention to the detail that makes it even more personal. When you change the water, you make it personal, like you're giving the water, not just, I have to hear the cups. You put it, now it's very hot, here's the water, so you don't dehydrate. That's Prahlad Maharaj. We change the water so that the deities don't dehydrate. They don't dehydrate. No dehydration of their body. When we don't drink water, Maharaj, we're dehydrated. Dehydrated.
Yeah.
So we read one more verse, so that's it. Any more comments?
I have questions.
Okay.
Jai Srimad Bhagavatam.
She has one question.
Huh?
Radha Govinda has one question.
Oh.
Каза, че Кришна се инкарнира на много смисъл, че живее, така да кажем, инкарнира много места и забавленията са много постоянно. В Бхагавад-гита се казва, всъщност Арджуна също едновременно живее на много, в смисъл едновременно има много лилии. Не знам дали правилно казвам. Понеже в момента има някаква концепция езотерична, че ние спонтанно живеем на много места едновременно. Искам да попитам дали това е изобщо така.
Esoteric question. So she has understood that it said that Krishna appears in many places simultaneously, and some of his devotees, like Arjuna, he is also with him simultaneously. And she says she heard there's some conception that we are living in other places simultaneously, participating in other things. So she wants to know if that's...
We are?
Yes, we are also living in different places simultaneously.
Are we also, is there a conception, esoteric conception, that we also live in a different dimension simultaneously?
That one we are conditioned. Not as long as we are conditioned, we can. That's the meaning of condition.
Confined.
We only have one body. We cannot exist simultaneously somewhere else, as long as we are conditioned. Condition means confined in one body. I've found this also interesting, that again the spiritual nature, it is not conditioned by time and space. It's very interesting, which means everything exists simultaneously. Krishna Loka exists everywhere. It's not somewhere, Goloka Vrindavan, somewhere else, Vaikuntha. It's all everywhere simultaneously. All pervading. Goloka Vrindavan is everywhere. Vaikuntha planets are everywhere. There's no limitation by time or space. It's an amazing concept. So according to your consciousness, then you have access to that realm, or whatever. According to your relationship with Krishna, then you have access to that realm. But otherwise, all the realms, spiritual realms, are all pervading. Can I go? Because there's so many schedules today.
Yes,
11 o'clock, there's
yes.
some treatment.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.